out of the latest in the Russia probe. Where does it stand today after Jared Kushner appeared in that closed-door meeting with the Senate Intelligence Committee last Monday? And that was followed by his testimony under oath before the House Intelligence Committee the next day. Former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort also met with the Senate Intelligence Committee about campaign meetings with Russians now linked to the Kremlin. So let's bring in Ken Delanian of the NBC News Investigation Unit. Ken, with another welcome to you. I know you've been doing a lot of digging into the Russian investigation, so let's get right to it. Gauge for us the impact of both Kushner's and Manafort's visits to Capitol Hill. How do you read them?
It was a consequential week in the Russia investigation, Alex. Nobody expected Jared Kushner to go up to the Hill and confess to colluding with Russia. He didn't do that. In fact, he denied any collusion, and he did so under oath. And that needs to be taken seriously because, you know, his lawyers would not have let him go up to the Hill and testify under oath under penalty of perjury. It's a crime to lie to Congress if they thought he was in legal jeopardy. At the same time, there's still a number of questions about his account, and there are also a lot of questions about the meeting that Paul Manafort went up to the Hill to talk about. And that's that meeting at Trump Tower last June between the Russian lawyer, the Russian lobbyist, Donald Jr., Manafort, and Kushner. And it came after an email promised help from the Russian government. And fundamentally, whatever happened in that meeting, and so far there's no evidence to refute the idea that it was a meeting about Russian sanctions and the Trump team didn't think very much of it. Whatever happened, it was held pursuant to an email promising help from the Russian government. And instead of rejecting that, the Trump team accepted it. Don Jr. said, "I love it." And so that is a signpost for investigators. We have a long way to go, and they're trying to find out whether there were other meetings and whether any help was ultimately accepted by the Trump team.
So, Ken, yesterday I spoke with Senator Al Franken of the Judiciary Committee about whether or not he believes Kushner's testimony that he did not collude. Let's take a look at that.
No, I mean, no. He has had to refile his disclosure form a number of times. I've written a letter asking for at least to suspend his security clearance. I think, you know, who knows? This may come down to what did the president know and when did his son-in-law tell him?
So what is your take, Ken, on what the senator said?
What you're seeing there is the skepticism that a lot of Democrats have about Kushner's account. Now, in fairness, I talked to one person who was in the room when Kushner testified before the House, and he said that, look, the guy seemed like he was answering every question and had nothing to hide and was frank and forthright. So some people thought he performed well. But the bottom line is there are still fundamental questions about his account. And one of the biggest has to do with his meeting with VEB Bank, Sergei Gorkov, the head of that bank. This is a bank under sanctions. Kushner says he took the meeting at the request of the Russian ambassador, and he did it in his diplomatic role. This was in December during the transition. But the bank has said something entirely different. The bank says this was a roadshow. We were trying to drum up business. We were talking to Kushner as a businessman. So that account has to be reconciled somehow by investigators, and that's one of the questions remaining that lawmakers have about Jared Kushner's account.
And then we've got the president, as you know. Meanwhile, he's been tweeting that Russia was against Trump in the 2016 election, and why not? I want strong military and low oil prices, witch hunt. He's referring to that firm that put together the infamous dossier. And what do you think is significant about that dossier at this point?
Well, the dossier, which, as you know, had some salacious allegations about Donald Trump and Russian prostitutes. More importantly, though, it alleged a well-coordinated conspiracy between the Trump team and Russia. Now, that obviously hasn't been proven. The firm that helped put it together, Fusion GPS, was the subject of a hearing on the Hill last week where it emerged. I mean, this has been known, but, you know, this focus was on the fact that they also worked for some Russians in this case involving the Magnitsky Act. So they were this firm, Fusion GPS, was sort of on both sides of the Putin divide. Some Republicans are using that to discredit the dossier. Others look and say, look, they're like a law firm. They work for whoever pays them. Just because they work for Russians in one case doesn't discredit the work they did on the dossier. Ultimately, it's going to be up to the FBI, Robert Mueller, and the House and Senate to determine how much of the dossier is true and how much isn't true. But there's no doubt that the allegations in the dossier are what are being investigated by the FBI and Robert Mueller right now.